So in this video I want to show you a very quick way to multiply any pair of two-digit numbers. So that's absolutely any pair in the world in perhaps 10 seconds. And the best thing about this is that it's actually really easy to understand, and there's a way to get it to work for any two numbers of any size in general, but I'll get to that later. And for now, I want to teach you how to do it with a pair of two-digit numbers. So for instance 37 and 34. So I've drawn a diagram along the top here showing you the method. So here's the method. So in the first step, I'm going to multiply the units of the first number and the units of the second number. So for instance, in this case, with 37 times 34, it would be 7 times 4, and then I'd write that down. So in the second step, that then says I've got to take the tens digit of the first number and multiply that by the units digit of the second number. And when I've got that, I've got to then add that to the units digit of the first number, and I've got to multiply that by the tens digit of the second number. So in case you're a little bit confused at this stage, let me show you what I mean. So for instance, in this case, I do 3 times 4, right? So 3 times 4, and then I add that to 7 times 3. So I do 3 times 4 plus 7 times 3. Then I'd write down the answer. So I'm essentially doing two steps in one. And then my last step says that I've got to multiply together the tens digits of both numbers. So here, that would just be 3 times 3, and I'd write down my answer. So this is best illustrated with an example. So I've got a nice example here. So I've got 37 times 34. So let's apply this method above and see what we can do. Well, the first step says you're going to multiply the units digits of both numbers. And the units digit of the first number is 7, and the units digit of the second number is 4. So we've got to do 7 times 4. Well, 7 times 4 is 28. So I write down an 8, and I carry a 2, just as I would do with addition. The second step then says that I've got to do this number times this number, then I've got to add that to this number times this number. So 3 times 4, so 3 times 4, I then got to add that to 7 times 3, so 7 times 3. That's equal to, well, 3 times 4 is just 12, and 7 times 3 is 21. 12 plus 21 is 33. So I've got 33. I've now got to add on this extra 2 that I carried over. And 33 plus 2, so 33 plus 2 is 35. So I write down a 5, and I carry a 3. So the last step now says that I've got to multiply the tens digits of both numbers together. So that says I've got to do 3 times 3, which is 9. And remember, I've got to add on this extra 3, which I carried over. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12. And since we're at the end of our calculation, you write down the whole number. So it's basically just like addition in the sense that you carry numbers over. So 37 times 34 is 1,258. Let's try another example. Let's try to find the product of 36 with itself. So 36 times 36, or 36 squared. So the first step, remember, we had to multiply these two numbers together. So in this case, we've got to do 6 times 6. Now 6 times 6 is 36. So I write down a 6 and I carry a 3. The second step said I've got to cross multiply and add. So I've got to do 3 times 6, then I add that to 3 times 6. Well, I know that 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 times 6 is 18 again. So that sums to 36. So I've got 36. I've also got to add on this extra 3 that I carried over. 36 plus 3 is 39. So I put down a 9 and I carry a 3. And the last step says I've got to multiply these two numbers together. So the tens digits of both numbers. That's 3 and 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 plus this extra 3 is 12. So I write down the 12, the whole number, because we're at the end of the calculation. So that was my second example. Let's look at one more example. So this is 78 times 41. Again, in my method, that says that I've got to take these two numbers, so 8 and 1, and multiply them together. Well, 8 times 1 is just 8. Now for the second step, which says I've got to multiply these two numbers and add them to these two, that says that 7 times 1 is 7, so 7. I've got to then add that to 8 times 4, and 8 times 4 is 32. And 7 plus 32 is just 39, so I put down a 9 and carry a 3. Now for the very last step, I've got to multiply the tens digits, so these two digits together, so 7 and 4. 7 times 4 is 28, and 28 plus 3 is 31. We're at the very end, so we write down the whole number, so that 7 times 4 plus 3 is 31. So 78 times 41 is 3,198.